Hi, I'm Shanta Navarro-Perez with the Presidential Living Team, powered by Compass, on a mission to make your real estate goals a reality, with a commitment to exceeding your expectations and dedication to providing concierge service. I'm here to guide you every step of the way. Whether you're buying, investing, or selling in the vibrant Central Florida market, my goal is to ensure your experience is not just smooth, but truly exceptional. Let's turn your real estate dreams into a reality.
Hello everyone. My name is Iris Salguero, President and CEO of NITT Mortgage. It is an independent mortgage brokerage dedicated to saving you the most money by working with various wholesale banks. Now is the time for you to get your financials in order, to take a look at your credit report, to take a look at your savings, to call the right partner so they can help you get to that next level. And you have to work with somebody that you know, like, and trust. So you call 1-888-462-5310. You can always go to our website, www.nittmortgage.com. And you can always send me a direct email at iris@nittmortgage.com. I look forward to speaking with you.
All right, welcome to the Pro Formula Podcast. I'm your host, Tarek Shabazz, and this podcast is all about professional development. So if you're trying to take your professional skills to the next level, you're in the right place. In order for us to be able to continue to bring you this great content, I'm going to need you to like, subscribe, or hit that bell on our YouTube page. You can also go to our Instagram, or you can go to our Facebook account. We look forward to seeing you at our next show. Thank you so much for tuning in. All right, welcome back to the Pro Formula Podcast. I'm your host, Tarek Shabazz, and our podcast here is really a way to help leaders and organizations get the most out of their individual and team performance. And so I am super excited to bring to you all my next guest. She is the owner of NITT Mortgage, which stands for Now is the Time Mortgage. She is the Circle of Excellence Award winner. She is a female entrepreneurial powerhouse, and I think she is an inspiration and motivation to anybody. So I want to bring you all my next guest, Miss Iris Salguero. How you doing, Miss Iris?
I'm doing wonderful. Super happy to be here with you.
Man, I'm fired up. It's good to see you. It's been some time. What have you been up to?
Helping a lot of clients, a lot of people learn about the great things of real estate.
How has real estate transformed your life and been a tool that you're using?
It has transformed my life because it has given me access to live the life that I've always wanted to live. But most importantly, it has given me access to be a person of value.
Talk about a person of value. What does being a person of value mean to you, and how are you bringing value to people's lives?
Well, growing up, we didn't have much, so we didn't have a house, we didn't have we only had an apartment, so we didn't understand what was the benefit of having a property, what was the benefit of having equity, what was the benefit of investing, the benefit of having ownership into something that is yours. And so now I'm bringing value by being able to teach, coach, and develop people into learning about how they can also purchase homes, invest homes, have equities, build their credit scores, open up their own businesses. I used to be a personal banker, business specialist, assistant store manager, branch manager for many banks. So I can tell you that everything, all the knowledge that I'm more than happy to share it with my clients and people that surround me, my community. I actually had a public speaking event yesterday, and I was able to share some of the insights of real estate, and it made me feel so happy and so empowered because there were so many faces in the room that looked like me, that looked like you, that were happy and excited to learn. And so that's what I've been up to.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. When I look back at when I first met you in high school, 1,000 years ago. It seems like not that long ago, not that old. But
Saying I'm old.
it's awesome to see the growth and the progress that you've made throughout your career. Tell me when you knew that you made it. Like for me, I remember I was running a nonprofit organization, the Mile High Bulldog Youth Association, and your son was a part of our program for years. Shout out Brandon. I hope just hope he's doing well. But I remember when kids from other programs would say, "I want to get on your team." Or people's parents would reach out and say, "How do I get my son on your team?" Or "How do I get my son to be a part of your program?" And that was just always mind-blowing to me. What are some of those things that are happening in your life that are like, "Oh my God, I'm making it"?
Yes. Well, you know what? For me is the fact that I have so many people reaching out to me, calling me. People, listen, I don't even advertise for business. And I have real estate agents reaching out to me because they've heard about me.
Nice.
So I have made a name for myself, and all the business that I receive is really referral based, is word of mouth.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing the way that everything has transpired. And I would say the day that I felt that I made it was when I just closed so many loans in 1 month, because as I mentioned to you before, I'm terrible about keeping track of how many people I close, how many loans I do. I keep track of, I lose track of my numbers because I'm not focused on numbers. I'm focused on making an impact and closing the next deal, so my clients can get the keys to their home. I'm so focused on that I forget about the numbers until, of course, the paychecks start coming in, and I'm like, oh, things are working out.
You talked a little bit about the reputation that you have developed in the community and having people that have trust in you. How important is that reputation, and what are some things that you did to really develop that kind of a reputation where people want you to be the source for their real estate needs and transactions?
Well, it's mainly because every loan that I touch, I close, right? And so what's happened is there's so many realtors sometimes that unfortunately they go through situations where a loan does not close 3 days prior to closing. They're getting a denial 3 days prior to closing. So when that happens, people say, well, where should I go? And a lot of people are like, go talk to Iris. She's going to figure it out because I'm very solution driven.
So you've really been able to leverage the expertise that you've had by getting deals closed and just by committing and following up on the things that you say you're going to do. Now the reputation has got there, and you got so much business you don't even know how much business you have.
Yeah.
It's interesting that this industry is expanding and growing, and I think it's crazy that like interest rates are back up. And talk to us about why people should still purchase a home in this kind of a market, even though interest rates are higher. Like, why is now the time to purchase a home?
I'm going to tell you why. Because if you are renting right now, you know that 6%, 6.5%, it's nothing in comparison to you paying 100% of your rent money and throwing it away every single month.
Yeah.
So now is the time for you to get a home, because we don't know if the rates are going to go up. Property prices are continuing to go up. So why are you going to wait until the next year or the following year, hoping and praying that rates get better? Another thing is, I had a client, and this recently happened to me. A client kept calling, hey, Iris, should I buy a house now? And I usually like, just do it now now that you can. You approve, I want to qualify for more, okay. So he ended up not buying it. And unfortunately, he ended up getting into an accident where he became disabled, and now he wasn't even able to purchase the house that he originally qualified for, hoping and waiting for the rates to go down. So you never know what life has for you. So why wait? Why continue to wait? Especially when you can now start building equity. Now you can own this home. Now, if you need to, you can have some roommates help you pay for the property. If you think it's too expensive, you can rent out the basement. You can still leverage that now, and you don't have to wait. Why wait? Waiting for what?
It seems like you're just talking about creativity and just finding creative ways to get it done. I think sometimes people lack the creative resources and the ability, where do you get that kind of creative solution focused mindset? Where does that come from?
It comes from the fact that I invest myself, right? I own properties myself. I have a real estate portfolio. So if I, in the middle, in 2020, I purchased one, 2022, I purchased another one. So it doesn't matter the situation. There's always, even if, rates are up, that means the house value is going to be down. Take advantage of that. I think what's most important is for people to be prepared, to be financially prepared. And a lot of people lack that, therefore there's fear. But if they know what their credit score is, if they know that they have some savings, if they can budget, if they can plan ahead, if they can have a strategic plan. You remember when we did your house for Florida and your wife reached out, her and I, we started strategically planning exactly what we were going to do to ensure that there was a smooth process, no hiccups, no issues, and on the day of closing, you guys received the keys to your home with no problem.
Yeah, I just want to just give a quick testimony. It was so incredible that you went and got your Florida license because you were dealing with us, and it was like I wouldn't say inspired you, but you had business that was in the state of Florida, and you didn't let anything. Not having a license was definitely going to be the last thing that was going to stop you. That just goes into that kind of solution oriented kind of mindset that you have, and how you always are going to go above and beyond for your clients. That's just amazing.
Well, you know what? When I came up with the idea, to me, let me tell you, NITT Mortgage, NITT is not just a slogan. It is the belief that now is the time to make your dreams a reality. Now is the time. And I truly believe that, because everything and anything that I set my mind to, I can accomplish. And ever since I accomplished the first thing, the second thing, the third thing, I've been acknowledging and noticing that I have the capacity to do it. But let me tell you a little bit about your story. When she reached out, I actually did not have the license to Florida. And I didn't tell her that. I just kept helping her, right? Because while I was doing the process, what I did as soon as I hung up the phone is I tried to figure out what's the quickest way for me to get this license. I start taking the test. We start working on it immediately, because number one, I was honored that your family, that you and your wife are reaching out to me. I was truly honored. I was like, they thought of me. They trust me to be able to do their loans. So I am going to come through for them. I'm going to do everything I can to save them money and to make their dream a reality. And I was so grateful for the way that you guys trusted me, that I hustled to get that license. And before you know it, I was already in Florida. But I also had plan B. I had plan B. I spoke with, the owner of my company prior to, and I was like, listen, if I can get my license ahead of time, what's plan B? So I did have plan B set up for the just in case.
No, but what I think is really valuable is you don't always have the answer.
Correct.
But you were willing to do the work anyway.
Correct.
There was never a moment that we didn't know if we were going to close. It was like you removed any kind of worry from our mind. And I think for those professionals who are really trying to grow and take themselves to the next level, you just need to get started.
Yes.
The phone is ringing. Somebody wants your help, and it's not like, well, let me see if I can help you. You just were like, let's get going. Like, here's some documents. I'm going to get those sent over to you. Get this stuff sent back to us. And so I thought that was really incredible. And I think that inside of there is a real true story, is that I don't have all the answers, and I don't necessarily need all the answers at this exact moment. But what I do have is the belief that I'm going to get it done, and I think that's who you are.
Yes, and that's what I'm telling you. NITT Mortgage is not just a slogan. It is the belief that now is the time to make your dreams go true, whatever that is. And for me, I believe in my head and in my heart that I am an unstoppable woman.
I believe in my heart that you're an unstoppable woman too. That's no question about it. I like to, ask this question in terms of like, if you were talking to 10-year-old Iris, or if 10-year-old Iris was talking to you, let's look at it from that perspective. What would 10-year-old Iris think about the life that you've created for you and your family?
10-year-old Iris would be in disbelief. because 10-year-old Iris, at 10 years old, I was actually in transition. I was actually moving from El Salvador to the States.
Okay.
So I came to the States when I was 10 years old. And in that period, I would not have even thought of, because my only dream at that point was to meet my mom for the first time.
You hadn't met your mom up to the point that you were 10 years old?
That's correct.
Where was she and where were you, and why hadn't you all had that meeting?
So back in 1980, when I was born, is when all the war in turmoil was happening in El Salvador.
Okay.
So my family was, after they gave birth to me, they were literally walking over dead bodies to get to my grandmother's home so they could eat. So what happened is they ended up leaving me with my grandmother, my grandparents, and they ended up fleeing the country. So I never got to see my parents again since I was a baby.
Wow. I don't think I ever knew that. And all the time that I've known you, I don't think I ever knew that story. Let's talk about pre-America, because it sounds like 10 years old, that's when you came to the States. Let's talk about before you got to the States. What was life like at that time? How were you all living? I heard you say there was turmoil, there was war and conflict, but how was life for you as a child growing up in El Salvador?
You know what? Here is what's funny. That even though we were poor, even though we didn't even have a fridge at some point, it didn't matter. I was a happy child. I was very happy with nothing. I didn't get my first doll or my first toy, I think, until I was like 8 or 9.
8 or 9 years old, you got your first toy. What did you do for fun? Like, what were things that you all did to have a good time and enjoy your childhood?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, we would go with like my friends to jump rope, or, I would borrow their stuff. They were very gracious to let me borrow like their ball, and we would play little soccer, or like, we call them chintas there, which is like a little ball with, I forgot, jacks.
Like this?
Jacks, yeah. Like,
I got you.
Yeah, like you throw the ball, and so I would borrow their toys, and they give it back, but I never had my own.
Yeah, now, I grew up in the inner city. You know where I grew up. I grew up in North Aurora. And I always think, my family, we didn't have much money, but we weren't poor. And we had love and knowledge. I mean, my parents and family was huge on love and huge on knowledge and information. What is poor like in El Salvador? How do you compare poor North Aurora versus poor in El Salvador?
I mean, I see kids here, for instance, they get to go to McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's, I never went to McDonald's even until I was 10 years old and I came to the States. I didn't know that was too expensive for us. So it was, it was, I don't know how to explain it, because it was, we were financially poor, but I was never my focus, because my grandmother used to put a little apron on me, and she used to take me to the flea market to work with her. So I was busy working, I was busy negotiating with clients and selling things. And that was fun to me. By the end of the day, we were happy that we made enough money so we could go get a meal, so grandma could go cook, So to be honest with you, I was never sad, or I never even knew or thought that I was poor. I never thought I was poor, because the word poor was never in the dictionary for me. It was just survival.
So you're at 10 years. I mean, as a kid, you're selling at the flea market. What were some of the things that you were selling? And you talk about these negotiation skills, which you guys, if you don't know Iris, this girl is a master negotiator. What were some of the things that you all were selling in the flea market?
We were selling clothes. We were selling, when it was time for kids to go back to school, we would sell books and supplies, for kids to go back to school. During Christmas, we would sell like the Christmas cards, and it was fun. It was, for me, it was so much fun, because I was a part of something big, because my grandmother made me feel special. My grandpa would make me feel special. because every time I would sell something, they would give me a high five because I started selling when I was 8. So receiving that high five and that reassurance from them that they were proud of me, that was my excitement.
I was encouraged. We have similar. I mean, I wasn't doing it for survival, so I don't want to even act like I was on that level. It was not for survival, but I can remember, needing to raise money so that we can go out of town to run track, and they would give us these world's finest chocolate bars, and it would be 50 in a box, and I would just sell 3-4 boxes, a day. I'm not joking. I would go door to door, and my sister would like, Tark, you're gonna be the spokesperson. You just say it, and I'll be there with you, and I'll smile. But I'm not gonna say anything. And I don't want to be a part of any of the selling, or we'd be, doing a paper route when I was a kid, things like that. And I could just remember I was always the person that they would put in front of people and say, Tark, you do the talking. And then as you get the talking going on, what were some of the skills that you were developing? Like when you look back and you say, man, I was developing this different talent, or I'm developing these different skills. What were some of those skills and talents that you were developing at that age?
It was sales skills. It was communication skills. It was the trade, learning commerce, learning how to count money.
Okay.
How does money work? I was learning it at an early age, being able to even go spend the money that I was earning, because my grandma would give me maybe a little commission, not a lot, but she'd be like, oh, Iris, you earned, an X amount today. It was not a lot, maybe a few quarters, but it was enough to get me motivated and hyped for the next day, because I felt like I had accomplished something. And I think maybe it wasn't even a bonus, but it was like, here, so you can go get fruit or something that you want, but it made me happy.
Yeah, and it's funny that you're learning those skills, but I'm also thinking you're learning human behavior at a young age. Talk to me about like some of the sales techniques that you may have developed as a kid that you're still finding yourself like, man, I've been doing that my whole life. Like, are there things that you could think of that you're like, man, I used to do this when I was younger, and I still find myself doing this in my sales capacity these days?
Yes. You know what? I've learned to read people. I learned like the faces, right? Like as a kid, it's like the face tells me a lot, your facial expressions. So it was, I'm mad, I don't like that price, or, oh, that doesn't sound too bad, I at a young age, I was reading facial expressions because it was important for me to try to grasp, understand if I had an opportunity to sell you more, or if I was tapped out. I wanted to know a little bit more, but I also learned the importance of making people feel important. Because at an early age, I realized that every time I paid attention to someone, they liked that. Every time I complimented something genuinely that I liked, that either they were wearing or they were saying, they actually appreciated that.
Yeah.
So that is something that I still use today.
I can remember like one of my gifts, I think, when I was a kid and I was doing the selling, was I was really easily able to connect with people.
Yes.
Like I have this ability to connect on a level that would be like, I'd look around, even in sales to this day, I look around on their desk. Oh, they got a 49ers thing. Okay, so did you grow up in California, or what drew you to the 49ers? I had a cousin that played for the 49ers, and so I was always trying to find a way to relate to people, and then I would use that relatability to them to like disarm them. I was always disarming people.
Yes.
And I think that, just hearing you say, man, I'm looking at facial expressions, I'm thinking about that as a kid, and I'm like, I bet she was really, really excellent at that. How were sales? Were you a powerhouse salesperson right away?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. I had a rough, of course, at the beginning. It was kind of rough because my grandma would be like, how much did you sell that for? And I would tell her, she's like, no, you gave it almost for free. Like, you can't do that. I'm like, oh my God. So the next day I was like, okay, I sell it for that. And then I was looking for the proud moment. I was looking for I would sell it for the price that she would ask me to. And I was looking for the proud moment of her saying, yes, you got it for that. And they didn't negotiate beneath that. So in order for me to get there, I would start with the higher price. Okay. So if it was like, an example, $2, I would be like, oh, it's $3.50. Because I knew they were gonna be working me the way down. So I wanted to make grandma proud and be able to say, I got it for $2, an example, $2.
Yeah.
There were pesos at the time. although Salvador's currency is now U.S. It's the American dollar.
Awesome. Let's talk about getting to America.
Yes.
And you got to America, you're 10 years old, so I would imagine you're probably 4th or 5th grade around that time. How easy was the transition or hard was the transition going from a predominantly Spanish-speaking country now to a gringo, English-speaking culture?
Believe it or not, it was really tough. Because even though I was in a Spanish neighborhood, my Spanish is not the same as for a Mexican person, right? It's more Salvadorian, what they call shrimp, camarones. I would call them chacalines. So it was different words for a lot of things. So it was hard for me to, learn, to make friends. They all spoke English, and some of them spoke Spanish too, but it was challenging to be able to connect because I didn't know how to connect with them, and also I would get made fun of because even, same race, they would tell me to go back to my country. So I experienced a lot of setbacks. I remember not being able to do my homework because it was all in English, and the teacher just slammed the table and looked at me and was like, "Do your homework, do you understand?" And I was like just looking at her eyes, just terrified.
And like, no, I don't understand.
No hablo inglés, at all. So I had this little girl, Isabel. I remember her standing up and coming over and translating. So they ended up getting a Miss Beltran, was a teacher that they got an ESL teacher so that she would come in the back and she would follow along as they were teaching the class. And so the fact that they were able to provide that for me was very essential because slowly I was getting it, but it was tough and it was intimidating.
All right, thank you all for joining the show. Just a quick reminder, if you like the content that you're receiving and you want to help us out, we really would appreciate that. If you want to help, you can go to our Cash App, which is $, the Pro Formula, or you can go to our Patreon account, which is patreon.com/the Pro Formula. Thank you so much. Your support means the world to us. Talk to me about the kind of student that you were. Did you excel in academics? Obviously there's a language barrier. You got those things that you got to overcome. But once you started getting into the school system, was it simple for you, or did you have to work hard to get good grades, or did you get good grades?
I was not the best student. As I was getting older and I was starting to learn, I would get a little bit better and I would pass, my classes. I was an okay student. Okay. Then I remember, I went to Central High School.
Aurora Central, shout out to the Trojans. What's happening?
Went to Central, and I remember that, freshman, I was still not good. I was not doing that well. And I was kicked out of the house at the age of 15 because, we had a little bit of challenges at home, So my uncle, Oscar, took me in. So he took me in, I moved in with him. And at that point, now there was more a supervisor, right? Now he was different. He was a whole different story. He was very loving. He was very kind. He was very supportive. But he was no joke smoke. He was like, you're going to bring me good grades. You're going to do this. It was pretty. And he would always, encourage me to do better. And so I remember one time, he went to school and he didn't see the best grades. And he was like, Iris, if you don't get it together and if you don't do this, and that, he was like, you're going to be in trouble from A through Z. I was terrified. So I went back to school the next day and I was like, I had a serious conversation with all my teachers and I was like, listen.
Uncle Oscar ain't playing. I gotta figure this out. Help me, please.
I read his facial expression and that facial expression said, he is not playing with me. So I wanted to then, instead of wanting to sit in the back, you know, I started sitting in the front. And I started to change the group of friends that I was originally dealing with. I got myself into the swim. I ended up in the swim team.
Okay.
I got myself in the speech team, and I started, you know, associating myself with kids that I felt were, you know, they were more easygoing. They were going somewhere. They had more value. You know, they weren't gonna get me in trouble. You know, so I started shifting my mindset because Uncle Oscar said to me, Iris, as a Spanish Latina female, you need to understand one thing. He said, you need to be, I want you, when you get older, to be with somebody because you love them, not because you need them. He said, in the way that you're going, you're going to need somebody in order for you to survive.
This is Marcus Richardson, President and CEO of Rich Group Financial. We look forward to working with you and helping serve you in the financial service arena. So what that really means is we're going to be able to help you with life insurance for your mortgage protection, make sure that's taken care of when you pass. We're also going to be able to help you for your final expenses to make sure your burial, things like that are taken care of. We also are able to help you with retirement. So if you're losing money in the market and you want to stop losing money, you don't want to keep losing money, we can help you with that. And we also can help you with Medicare. So if you want to make sure you got all that taken care of, please reach out to Rich Group Financial. You can find us at richgroupfinancial.com, or you can also send us an email at richgroup28@gmail.com, and we'd love to serve you and help you and bring you into the family.
So that's the reason why I was like, okay, so I really need to get it together. I need to start associating myself with better friends. And I remember that his belief in me was so deep. Like I could see through his facial expression, through his actions, that he loved me. You know, I felt it. I felt that his love. And then when I felt that connection with him, it was, I'm not going to let him down. I am going to do everything that I can to make him proud.
All right. So from the swim team, did you start becoming a good student at that point, or were you still just kind of a marginal student at that time?
I was a better student. I became a better student.
He turned you into a better student.
He turned me into a better student. I was showing up on time. I was doing my homework. I was doing everything that I needed to do to stay on his good side.
Okay. That's awesome. And then let's transition into like the professional life. What were some of the first jobs that you had, you know, as a grown-up and as an adult? And then how did that turn you into this mega real estate broker that you are these days?
You know, I used to push carts. That was my first job. Nice. Then I was a cashier.
Okay.
And I then became a supervisor at the place of work. And at some point, I saw somebody, one of my dear friends, got a $10,000 check. It was what he had made that week. And I was like, how did you do that? And he was like, oh, I'm in real estate. I'm like, really? What do you do? What exactly do you do?
Yeah. And
so he starts telling me about it. I'm like, huh. Because at that point, there had been a lady that was off. Was off that day. I remember that they asked me to step in to cover her to sell executive membership cards. Okay. And I started excelling at selling those. I was like, ooh, I'm doing good, you know? But I like her getting was a good pat in the back. Iris, you're going to have to do this again next week. Iris, you're doing great, you know?
But not the money that.
But then the money was giving me no money. I
was
like, yes, that's exactly. I'm like, I didn't have a pat on the back. They were offering me food. Like, we're going to go get you some shrimp, you know? Because people started finding out that I like shrimp. So they were like, we're going to get you some shrimp. We're going to get you some stuff. And I was like, I want to make money. So I told my friend, I said, listen, why don't you give me an interview? And he was like, how am I going to get you an interview? was like, oh, you know what? I canceled. There's a party coming up. He was like, you can come and you can meet them. And I was like, sign me up for that party. So when I showed up, met his boss, started talking to him, and he hired me.
Iris, you ooze confidence to me. I mean, when I hear your story as an 8-year-old negotiating, then you come to a country where you don't even speak the language. Where in the world do you get this inner belief that I can do more, I can be more? Because with all due respect, you grew up in poverty in El Salvador.
Yes.
How did you see that I'm going to be able to turn myself into that? Like, where does this confidence and this belief come from?
Well, one, it was the fact that I would see other people have certain things, but I also knew that I had nobody else to lean on but myself. And especially when I gave birth to my son at age 22. So when it was just him and I was looking for love in all the wrong places.
Okay.
It's when I realized that my number one thing that I needed to do was to focus on myself.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you, you want to know who my real hero is, who I've always aspired and looked up to, is the one and only Oprah Winfrey. I used to watch her shows like I was about to watch like the biggest special. It was like my hype of the day. Every time I would see those shows, the way she moved, the way she talked, the way, how loving, how kind, her presence. I just wanted to meet her. I was like, I love you, Oprah, I love you. Because her and I have a bit of a similar story that I don't want to talk about today, but we have a similar story on some stuff that I just gravitated to her. And watching her and having my son and knowing that I was raising my son as a single mom, right? Because of all these things, my biggest motivation, what turned everything in my head was when I gave birth to my son and I looked at him at the hospital and I said, I am never gonna let you down because I love you more than you can imagine. I didn't know a human could love this much. So my inspiration immediately became my son. I have to make this kid proud. And I also cannot be a hypocrite, right? I cannot tell him to be all the best that he can be. I can't tell him to go to school and learn something new and be this high parent if I cannot do it. I wanted him to be able to look up to me. So how is he going to look up to me if I'm not doing more?
You know what I hear you talking about is your why.
Yes.
So often, when I'm talking to successful, entrepreneurs or business owners or even athletes, I hear that they had a why.
Yes.
And if you're walking around this world and you don't know why you're doing something,
yes,
you're never going to get where you're trying to go. But it sounds like when your son Brandon was born, the why intensified because you were already going to do great things.
Yes.
But then you made a promise to him that you ultimately said, okay, I've got to live out what I'm doing.
Yes.
Okay. So you got into real estate.
Yes.
The guy showed you that you could do, this is how it looks. Did you immediately?
Yes. And then I get hired. I wasn't even there for a month. And the company shuts down.
Oh my God.
But I'm so prideful that I didn't want to go back to where I had just quit from, right?
Mm.
So I knew I had to provide a check. I just didn't know where to go, who to call, or what to do. So I went knocking at the door of a dealership and I started selling cars.
So started in real estate, that didn't take off. Matter of fact, they closed the door. Now let me get into car sales. How'd you do in car sales?
I crushed it. I did great. But it was funny because they didn't want to give me the job because they said they asked me an honest question. They said, do you know about cars? And I said, I don't know about cars, but I know about people. And people do business with people who they know, like, and trust. I said, so I'm asking you for is an opportunity to show you what I'm capable of doing.
You guys, I don't know if you're catching this, but this is another example of this woman not knowing what she's doing, not having a plan on what she's doing, but she is likable, she's knowledgeable, and people trust her, and that seems to be your secret sauce.
Yes.
Am I like
Yes.
down the right path?
Yes.
It seems like that is like the story of your life. Like, man, I didn't know what I was gonna do. So you crush it in car sales. What got you back into real estate?
Because the guy upset me at the dealership, like one of the managers upset me because it was time. I ended up finding out that the guys were getting paid more than me.
Wow.
And that upset me. So I didn't tell anybody, but I did say, hey, listen, can we have a conversation? I said, I would like to figure out a way that I can make more money. And they said, well, no, sweetheart, at this point you can't. But what we can do for you is, how about every time you sell a car, we put $100 under your son's name. And we started creating a savings account for him. And I said, I appreciate that. Let me think about it. So I walked out, and there's some guy, his name's Reggie. He's still here in Colorado. Reggie was so kind and so wonderful to give me a ride to go pick up my son at the babysitter's, and I never went back. I ended up going to another dealership to try to change the luck. It didn't happen. At the other dealership, something happened with another guy that upset me because he was asking me to get in the car to go get lunch, and he was going to be my mentor, and it didn't feel good the way that he asked me.
Okay.
And so I quit that day, and I went and I applied at Wells Fargo Bank. And I remember Tracy hired me because I was in a room full of people, and they were looking to get, they said, a banker. But I had to earn my spot. And so they said, well, we're going to go ahead and have some people sell something that they're good at selling, And so I was like, oh, I can sell the membership, the Costco membership. So I went and I was selling the Costco membership and all this. I was overcoming objections, and they said, yep, we want her. So they hired me. And the day that I showed up to the first class for Costco, the Wells Fargo class, I remember the guy that was sitting there that was also in the interview. He said, oh my God, after your interview, I didn't think that I was going to get called in here. He said, I'm so happy you both, we both made it. He was like, thank you. This is so cool. And then we became friends and everything was cool. But what happened is that I was so hungry to prove myself, but to prove to people that I had this. I had it. There was nothing, because my why was waiting for me, because I needed to put diapers. I need to get diapers. I need to get formula. I needed to help. I need to get, put him in daycare. Finding daycare was tough. I remember taking him to daycare one time, not even daycare, to this lady who babysat him, and I found him bruised. And I found him they had not fed him, so I'm he's over here sucking on the bottle, and I fed it to him, and that hurt. I think that pain was driving me into becoming more of a beast. It was it was the more pain and the more obstacles that I was taking in, it was the more upset I would get, and the more I would tell myself, watch me go in there and watch me be better. Watch me be great. I'm going to be better today, tomorrow than I was today, and then the next day, and the next day. And I almost became a workaholic. I was just if I was competing against amazing guys, I wanted to always make sure that I made a statement. And one thing I learned is that people lie, but numbers don't. So my numbers on paper had to be great, because if there was a spot that was coming up at any position, I would always make sure that I was a thought in somebody's head. I was going to become a personal banker, business specialist, assistant store manager, branch manager. And I was looking, I was climbing, and I was climbing like I was being chased. I was ferocious about it. but it's because my why.
I'm getting inspired. I don't know about y'all. I'm like, I don't ever want to get on Iris's bad side. If you get on the bad side, it's a trouble for you. But the other thing is that girl is, I mean, I'm seeing here right now, it's just energy oozing off her. She's little and compact, but this girl is packing a bite. That's awesome. I love your story. I want to help people that are trying to get to this next place understand, what is your schedule like? Do you mind sharing what a day in your life is like? Like,
I wake up in the morning.
what time are you usually up? You early riser or late riser?
I'm an early riser. I mean, it's sometimes 5 a.m. You know, I just wake up, brush my teeth, get ready, and I go downstairs. I grab, you know, a cup of coffee. I grab a little bite to eat, and I'm straight going to the office. And I'm starting. You know, if I didn't finish my to-do list the night before, I'll do it first thing as soon as I wake up. And I have to do my to-do list because I need to tackle each and everything that's on my to-do list. It has to get done. There's no way around it. It has to get done. Whether I am delegating, whether I am, you know, I have my to-do list, and that to-do list has to be finished by the end of the day.
Okay. So, you were used to only be responsible for yourself.
Yes.
But now you're responsible for a team.
Yes.
How are you transitioning, and what's that transition been like, that now I'm the one that's responsible for payroll, I'm the one responsible for making sure that people are able to feed their families, where before you were just looking after you, like making sure that you was going as hard as you could. How is it now you transition into being the boss?
Because I read a book, it's called The Shipbuilder.
The Ship
The
Builder.
Shipbuilder.
Check that book out, y'all. The Ship Builder.
It's very small, and it's actually very powerful. And it talks about leadership. And so it gives you, you know, steps of some of the things that you got to do. But the one that resonated the most for me is that in order for you to lead, you have to love them first.
Mm.
So everybody on my team, they're not just a number, they're just not a face. I love them. I love them. And in order for me to ensure their success, it means I have to hustle harder. Because before I was just responsible to make my money, and I make good money. So, and I have good savings, and I'm very financially responsible. So my hustle was still there, but now it's even more.
Yeah.
It's magnified because I need to make sure that everybody's eating. And I do incentives that they make more money. I look for ways that they can make extra money, that I can give what I call the bonus rounds, you know, because, you know, I want them to be able to work as hard as me, but I understand that they're not going to work as hard as me, because at the end of the day, it's my business. But I notice with each and every one of them that they put forth so much that goes into it, because I realize that by me loving them, they love me back. And so they want to see me succeed.
You know, when I was a young leader, I was what they call a charismatic leader.
Yeah.
Charismatic leaders bring energy and they inspire people. And the bad thing about charismatic leaders is when they leave the building, there goes the inspiration, there goes the motivation, there goes the you know, that camaraderie and those good feelings. And so as I've grown in my leadership, I've become a servant leader, which it sounds like that's the leadership style that you employ, which is endear yourself to your team.
Yes.
And love your team. And then you'll notice that as you pour into them, they're pouring more into you, and
Yes.
they're bringing more into you. Are you noticing that same
I
thing? With the way
see
that
it.
you love your team?
I see it. Because you know what? I can tell you, each and every one in my team is a boss in their own right.
Yeah.
I mean, I am also, people know I'm also tough. I would say, like, I want things to get done. And I'm also very solution driven. So I want them to hustle. But because they already know what my expectations are, right? Because I lead. This is what I'm doing. This is how I do it. And I share, hey, I got some meetings going on, and with this, I'm going to be having a speaking event. I'm going to be doing so. And the fact that even there's a specific female on the team that she's like, I look up to you, but I've explained to her that I look up to her too, because I recognize that she may not have the skills that I have, but I don't have the skills that she has. I am aware that they each bring value to the table.
Yeah.
And so that's great. That's how we're doing it. And that's why you go and you will do your loan at NITT Mortgage, because there's nothing but bosses in the company.
Love it. Kind of just this piece, I want to just help that mortgage broker or that lender that's like, man, I don't have Iris's connection. I don't have her following. Like, what is just one or two pieces of advice that you would provide them or offer them to say, yo, if you want to get your bag up, this is how you can get your bag up?
This is it. You want to know the true secret to that is put the client's best interest before your own.
Mm.
And if you do that, you're going to win every time.
Isn't that easier said than done though? Like, or is it easy to put your client's interest ahead of your own?
When you make it a habit, it's easy. But I'm always, I don't read books. I hear books, right? I listen to a lot of books, and therefore, I'm aware that clients go first. If I cannot get to the next step if I don't put them first. So the same client will refer me business over and over and over again. And I do the same thing over and over and over again. And more business continues to come. So word of mouth is what brings me more business, but it's because I truly do care about the clients. They're not just a number to me. I know each and every one of the families, and I talk with everybody to respect, not like from the head of household to the little baby. They're all equally, they're all so important. They're a unit, and I see a family. I see them. I think that's really what happens. I connect with people because I see them.
Yeah, I love it. Well, this is the last part of my show, and I call it End the Debate.
Yes.
We're all in the world always debating about things. So these are the things. I just want you to answer the first answer that comes to mind. I don't want you to try to psychoanalyze it and overthink it. Just let me know where your heart is at. You down to go and play this game with me?
Let's do it.
All right. So salsa music or 80s and 90s R&B?
Salsa music all day.
Salsa all day long.
I'm a good dancer.
Okay. Now, American football or the world's football?
Soccer.
Okay, she had to think about that when she was like, hold on.
I love football, don't get me wrong. I love Super Bowl. I love football. Go Broncos all day. But soccer is passion. Where I'm from, soccer is the deal. Like, soccer is so much passion.
Las Vegas or a mountain retreat?
A mountain retreat.
Okay. Last one is spa day with the girls or a night out on the town with your man?
With my man.
I think you all saw the exact same thing I saw. She wants to go with her girls, but she knew what that right answer was. I tried to trip her up, but that girl is a professional. I love that. For anybody that might be thinking about getting a mortgage, or they don't know what to do, like, talk to them and tell them why now is the time and what they're going to get when they call you.
Now is the time. Hello, everyone. My name is Iris Salguero, President and CEO of NITT Mortgage. It is an independent mortgage brokerage dedicated to saving you the most money by working with various wholesale banks. Now is the time for you to get your financials in order, to take a look at your credit report, to take a look at your savings, to call the right partner so they can help you get to that next level. And you have to work with somebody that you know, like, and trust.
How do they get a hold of you, Iris?
Yes. So you call 1-888-462-5310. You can always go to our website, www.nittmortgage.com. You can always send me a direct email at iris@nittmortgage.com. I look forward to speaking with you.
Awesome. Well, that wraps up another episode, and we can't wait to talk to you all at the next episode. Thank you. We'll see you back next time.